Hello everyone, my name is Martina Juvara and I am the director of Urban Silence. This is Rapallo, a small town in the north of Italy, a place I know very well. My grandmother used to live there and I still have an apartment. Rapallo was fashionable once and now it has all the signs of former glory. In the past decades, it gained a reputation of being a good place for elderly people, kind of a boring place. And so as I was going there a couple of months ago, I was fully prepared to find it in terminal decline. But that was not the case. And the person that made me think that is him. His name is Marco, and he's not Marco, my husband, and he's not even a summer romance. He is the owner of the company that made new curtains for my house. And as you can see, Marco is young, brazen, and somehow disregarding business norms, as he used this picture comes from his WhatsApp account that he used for business transactions with me. The picture surprised us and made us think and made us laugh, but we soon also realized that he was not the only one. As we were trying to renovate our house, we found loads of businesses exactly like him. And we soon realized that the old, sleepy, declining Rapallo was now being transformed. There was a new energy, loads of new businesses and loads of new activities. And from a place for the elderly, it was becoming a very young and dynamic place. Unexpectedly, really unexpectedly. And so what were the ingredients that all of these new businesses and new activities were bringing that were making now the town so special, that were having such a good impact on Rapallo as a whole? First of all, the energy of the people. That was helped, everybody told us so, a little bit by COVID, that sort of swept away the old crusty, tired businesses of before. But also personal service. Everyone had time and care for us, and they were wanting to share the experience of working with us. All of the business was conducted through word of mouth. Very few had a Google presence, very few were asking for, nobody actually asked for a TripAdvisor recommendation, for example. Everyone showed great commitment, either local to local products, local wines, using even dialect names for local things, and also towards sustainability, craftsmanship, attention to detail, something that was not there in the businesses before. And then personality. Everyone was a little bit special, a little bit unique. So for me, these four things are what can make a real impact, and that can draw attention and energy into a local place. So what are my two holiday recommendations for policymakers? The first one is stop obsessing with the big retailers. The big retailers are not interested in local. They are not going to support the local agenda. They will change and modify their businesses, adapt to online shopping, and that's their course and their destiny. Local areas are completely different. Recognize also, second recommendation, that there is a trend. The trend is already in place, and try to accelerate it. And this is not about charming old ladies in market towns. This is about fresh business, creativity, community. It's about energy in local areas. And we have to find new policies, a new concept for planning policies, for example, that really can support local areas, protect local business premises, allow flexibility, and in a way, sort of make room for local young businesses to support local areas. And in my mind, this is the only way to level up the country. So just to conclude, and continue the conversation, a couple of reading articles there, they're both from the US, where this trend has been spotted much earlier. And of course, get in touch with me in the Q&A and also through all of the usual channels. Thank you very much.
Okay. Arthur Acheson from Belfast. Sustainable communities offer lifetime choices. People can choose to join them, leave them, or stay local at different stages of their lives. Many developments, public and private, have restricted choice by being all the same type of dwelling. Rows of similarly sized semi-detached houses, for example, or on the next slide, detached. Next slide, please. Yeah, here large detached houses, but still all similar. And the next slide shows terraced houses. Exactly the same thing could apply to blocks of flats. They sold last year, so let's build more next year. But that doesn't take account of the variety that's needed in a community. People with varying needs or aspirations cannot stay local if everything is just the same. Their lifestyle changes with age or circumstances, and they have to move away, taking away from that community. Similarly, a household may prefer or need to rent rather than own a property, and that choice should also be available. Lack of choice is difficult and costly for both the household and the sustainability of the community. The housing factor is the multiplier between the largest or most expensive dwelling close by and the smallest or least expensive. The housing factor in these developments I've shown you equals 1 or very close to 1, because all the properties are similarly sized or priced, offering little or no variety. When the multiplier, that's the housing factor, is 5 or more, on the next slide, we can see that this offers a much wider choice of home. And here you can see within a 5-minute walk, there would be detached houses with wide open surroundings. There would be semi-detached houses with smaller gardens, and there'd be rows of terrace houses as well, all within a few minutes walk. This offers a much wider choice of home, which could be in the range of, for example, £120,000 to £600,000 capital value, or rentals of £400 to £2,000 per month, or, for example, they could be between 60 square meters or 600 square feet and 300 square meters for 3,000 square feet in floor area. A 5-minute walk is ultra convenient, so a factor of 5 within a 5-minute walk can become very persuasive in making a case to a local authority, for example, for a greater variety of local housing. A household starting out to buy or rent a first home is likely to choose a smaller dwelling or a shared dwelling at a lower cost. Household size or needs may change, and a high housing factor, such as you see on the slide here, allows people to stay in the local area, moving across the road or around the corner, keeping their links with neighbours, with local shops, with the gym, the church, the school, the workplace, and so on. Aspirational or growing households with higher incomes and a need for larger homes, car spaces, gardens, etc., can stay local. And later on, when the household members have left home to start a new one, they too can choose to stay locally. Older family members looking for smaller accommodation and cost savings can also remain in the community, increasing sustainability. Places that have not experienced large-scale public or private development, but instead have developed and changed incrementally over time, often have large housing factors with lots of choice for people. The measurable and memorable housing factor of 5 within 5 minutes walk can be used to evaluate proposals for development or change in new or existing places, and could become a criterion for approval of proposals. 5 minutes walk is measurable. A housing factor of 5 is measurable. Planning policy would need to be written accordingly. Developers would be discouraged from building just the same unless a local area were already well diversified. Encouragement by grant of planning permissions would be given to proposals that maintain or extend a local housing factor of 5 or more. On the next slide, you can see a conversion some 20 years ago of a former linen factory in central Belfast. This created a housing factor of 4 in a single building, with properties at that time ranging in values between £60,000 for a studio to £240,000 for a 3-bedroom penthouse apartment. Doable, measurable, and memorable. Planning policymakers could encourage community sustainability and diversity by including a requirement for development to maintain or increase a housing factor to 5 or more within 5 minutes walk of the proposal. This is particularly relevant to proposed conversions that may be accommodated, perhaps in unexpected places, through the new permitted development rules. Arthur Acheson, calling from Belfast. Thank you.
Good morning. As a nation, we're not doing enough to address the housing needs of our ageing population, and we urgently need to provide a wide range of options. We know many more would move to somewhere attractive and affordable. This would reduce the need for care, as the right home can add 5 years of independent living and free up much needed family homes, reducing the need for out-of-town developments and reliance on cars. I want to stimulate ideas for reusing town centre locations to create inspirational homes, attractive to right sizes, people who want a new way of living to help themselves live younger longer. Being connected to communities can reduce isolation and improve quality of life and well-being. When we talk of housing for older people, we tend to think of retirement housing, yet many want to live in mixed-age communities in lifetime neighbourhoods, green and walkable. We need a wide range of options to cater for different preferences, price points and tenures. In the UK, far fewer of us move in later years than in most comparable countries. We each need to do all we can to preserve our own independence, especially now as COVID-19 has exacerbated problems in our already failing care system. The world's population is ageing. In the UK, 1 in 4 of us will be over 65 by 2036, and our over 80-year-olds will double to 6 million. Only about 5% of us move to specialist housing, but over 70% of over 65s are owner-occupiers. A third, that's up to 4 million people, would move if there was somewhere local, attractive and affordable. But most house builders are not building to lifetime home standard, and often new homes can't be adapted. We have a huge shortage. We need at least 400,000 new homes for older people by 2030, but we're currently developing less than 5,000 each year. We need more neighbourhood data on older people's housing needs and desires at local level. We should then use our local plans, whilst we still have them, and neighbourhood plans to designate exception and other sites and buildings to deliver homes for older people, including genuinely affordable housing and mixed-age schemes. Permitted development allows developers to turn commercial spaces into small flats, even tiny ones of 15 square metres. So how do we compete with that to create truly desirable homes that are well designed, spacious and light, and ideally co-created with future residents? At a recent talk on Our Homes for Our Future that I gave to my local Crouch End U3A in London, a Zoom poll found that 43% were thinking of moving, with 91% wanting to stay local. Most wanted houses and flats, but amazingly, 28% were interested in co-housing or cooperatives, and 11% in retirement housing. Could this information influence local developments, such as the Hornsey Town Hall, new flats? Could we have had a co-housing scheme there? I'm particularly interested in town centre options for intentional communities, such as co-housing and cooperatives. Many people express interest in this, with many preferring multi-age communities. These approaches are much more common and popular in Europe and the USA, and in the UK we have few such options. This example is older women's co-housing. It took over 8 years to be established, but it's very successful. It's around the corner from Barnet Town Centre, and it's proved its worth during COVID lockdown. Predominantly ownership, the scheme includes social rent. So the process of establishing co-housing is very complex and takes far too long in the UK. How can we simplify it? Woodside Square is a new neighbourhood created on a hospital site a short walk from Muswell Hills Town Centre. Originally intended to include a co-housing scheme, sadly this fell apart when prices shot up above the expected level. But the scheme still includes many lifetime homes flats for the over 55s, and new residents are enjoying the community spirit. More people are now aging in the private rented sector, and estimates suggest about 500,000 of them may no longer be able to afford the rent and have to move in the next 15 or so years. Where will they go? Where we have local information, can we make a case for institutional investors, such as Legal & General in their affordable private rented sector, as well as registered providers, to come up with innovative solutions to address this need for affordable rented homes? Town centre locations would be perfect. Perhaps European-style cooperatives might be one model. This example from Coastline Housing Association created lifetime homes, rented flats with a lift and common room for over 55s, reusing a love-listed building in the centre of Camborne, Cornwall. It rehoused many people from poor private rented sector conditions, as well as downsizers from social rent, trapped in remote rural locations. I interviewed half the residents. It had hugely improved their quality of life, and we need many more town centre schemes like this. Thank you very much.